As Jessica collapsed in the courtroom, gasps echoed through the hall. Across the aisle, Vanessa's smug smile faded when Judge Harrison announced, "Before we proceed, there's evidence the court needs to review." The bailiff wheeled in a television, and suddenly, every secret they'd fought to hide was exposed for all to hear. If you're feeling that tension already, this story will take you on an emotional journey of betrayal, justice, and redemption. Stay with me to the end, I promise it's worth it. Jessica Matthews never imagined she'd be fighting for her reputation against her husband's former business partner and his mistress. After building their tech company from nothing, her husband David's sudden death left her not only grieving but facing accusations of intellectual property theft from Vanessa Clark, a brilliant programmer who had joined their company 3 years ago. "David always said I was the brains behind StreamSync's algorithm," Vanessa claimed confidently in her testimony. Jessica knows nothing about programming, she was just the supportive wife who now wants to claim what isn't hers. The courtroom had been tilting in Vanessa's favor for days. Jessica's lawyer seemed outmatched by Vanessa's legal team, funded by venture capitalist Robert Thorne, who stood to gain control of StreamSync if Jessica lost. Jessica's daughter Lily squeezed her mother's hand as Vanessa described late-night coding sessions with David. "We were creating something revolutionary together," Vanessa said, her eyes momentarily meeting Robert's. "David wanted me to have recognition for my work." The previous day's testimony had been brutal. Former employees testified that David often praised Vanessa's contributions, while Jessica appeared increasingly isolated from company operations in the months before his death. "My mother built that algorithm," Lily had whispered to their lawyer. "Dad just became the face of it because investors wouldn't take Mom seriously back then." But proving it seemed impossible, until Jessica's college roommate Elaine arrived from Seattle with an old external hard drive. "I found this when cleaning my basement," she told Jessica's lawyer. "Remember how you backed up your work at my place because David's apartment kept losing power?" The timestamps on the files predated Vanessa's employment by 4 years. More damning were the recorded conversations between Vanessa and Robert discussing how to manipulate David and eventually push Jessica out completely. When Judge Harrison played the recordings, Vanessa's confident demeanor cracked. The most revealing exchange came last. "Once David signs these papers, his wife gets nothing," Robert's voice echoed through the courtroom. "He doesn't understand what he's signing away." "He trusts me completely," Vanessa replied. "The accident won't be traced back to us." The word "accident" hung in the air. Jessica swayed and then collapsed, the implication too terrible to bear. In the days that followed, the case transformed from an intellectual property dispute to a criminal investigation. The accident that killed David, a car crash attributed to brake failure, was re-examined. Forensic evidence confirmed tampering. 3 months later, Jessica stood outside the courthouse after the verdict, her daughter and loyal employees beside her. "Today isn't about winning," she told the reporters gathered. "It's about truth." David believed in creating technology that connects people authentically. "That's the legacy I'll continue to build." StreamSync's new authentication software, designed to identify manipulated recordings and prevent digital deception, became her focus. The system she and David had originally envisioned evolved into something even more significant, a tool for verifying digital evidence in court cases worldwide. 5 years later, Jessica watched as her daughter graduated from law school, specializing in intellectual property and digital evidence. The courtroom that once witnessed her darkest moment had become the foundation for her greatest triumph, not just preserving her husband's legacy, but creating something entirely new from the ashes of betrayal. The truth, hidden so carefully by those who thought technology could conceal their crimes, had found its way to the light. And Jessica, once portrayed as just the wife, had transformed an industry. Sometimes justice arrives in unexpected ways, and the recordings we don't know exist become the evidence that changes everything. #The verdict of truth. Looking back, the moment Jessica fainted in court became the turning point not just in the case, but in how digital evidence would be handled in courtrooms across the country. Her story, From grieving widow to pioneering CEO, inspired thousands of women in tech to stand their ground when facing similar challenges. Robert and Vanessa's trial for conspiracy and murder revealed a carefully orchestrated plan spanning years. Their relationship, which began before either met David, had been built on ambition rather than affection. They saw in David's innovation an opportunity to claim intellectual brilliance that neither possessed. The most dangerous people, the prosecutor told the jury, aren't those who lack intelligence, but those who refuse to earn what they desire. StreamSync's success following Jessica's court victory became legendary in tech circles. The authentication software became standard in legal proceedings, preventing countless cases of digital manipulation and fraud. Jessica's insistence that the technology remain accessible rather than prohibitively expensive changed how evidence was evaluated in smaller courts without massive resources. Lily's law firm specialized in representing innovators who, like her mother, found themselves fighting to protect their intellectual property. "My father believed in creating tools that bring truth to light," she often said in interviews. That mission continues through every case we take. The courtroom where Jessica once collapsed became a classroom where she occasionally lectured on digital evidence and entrepreneurship. Students were always surprised by her warmth and humor, expecting someone hardened by betrayal and loss. The secret, she would tell them, isn't avoiding pain or preventing betrayal. It's refusing to let those experiences define your future. On the 10th anniversary of the verdict, Jessica dedicated a wing at the Technical College to affordable education for women in programming. The David Matthews Memorial Scholarship provided full tuition to 10 students annually who demonstrated both technical promise and ethical commitment. "Technology without ethics is dangerous," became her mantra. "Innovation without integrity is empty." The recordings that exposed the truth had been David's final gift to her. Always cautious, he had installed recording software on his devices when he first began to suspect something wasn't right at the company. His digital diary, automatically backed up to a server only Jessica knew about, contained his growing concerns and evidence he was gathering. "If anything happens to me," his final entry stated, "Jessica will know what to do with this. She's always been the backbone of everything we've built." The story of StreamSync became a case study in business ethics courses. What began as a simple communication platform evolved into a company that prioritized verification and authenticity in an era increasingly challenged by deepfakes and digital manipulation. Jessica never remarried, though she built meaningful friendships and partnerships. "David was my great love," she told Lily on her wedding day. "But he would be the first to tell you that love takes many forms. Building something that matters is also love." The courthouse steps where she had faced reporters after the verdict became the location for the annual StreamSync conference on digital ethics. Technologists, legal experts, and ethicists gathered to discuss the challenges of truth in the digital age. "We can't control how technology will be used," Jessica acknowledged in her keynote address 15 years after the trial. "But we can create systems that make accountability possible." When Jessica finally stepped down as CEO at 65, StreamSync had expanded beyond its original mission to become a leader in secure communication and verification systems. The company's foundation funded research into preventing technology-facilitated fraud targeting vulnerable populations. "My mother understood that technology is just a tool," Lily said at Jessica's retirement celebration. "What matters is whose hands it's in and what they intend to build with it." The hidden recording that changed everything in that courtroom decades earlier had transformed not just one case but established a precedent for how digital evidence would be evaluated. Jessica's collapse became a moment of rebirth, not just for her, but for an entire approach to truth in the digital age. In her memoir, Jessica wrote, "The moment when everything falls apart can become the foundation for something stronger than you ever imagined possible. Truth may be delayed, but in the right hands, with the right tools, it will always find its way to light." And that, perhaps, was the most powerful verdict of all.